special Christmas Eve edition of a broadcast I've been putting together for a while, actually. For anyone that's followed me on my channel, you'll know that I've been playing around with my Super Nintendo Mini, the USB host modification. A USB hub. This is a different one that I've shown you before. This one's more compact. You can have external power. It's got the usual micro SD card plugged in, but I've just blue tacked it in place to keep it kind of quite tight on top of there, so it looks kind of nice. Plugged into that now, you'll see my standard Player One Super Nintendo pad, which is great. Also, I've decided to plug in, and this is nothing special, this is just a Wii Classic pad, which is plugged into Player 2. So, Player 1, I've got my standard pad that came with my Super Nintendo plugged in here. Then we've got this pad plugged into Player 2. But of course, we've got 3 additional USB sockets here, and I've got plenty of USB pads. So, here's some of the options that I've been looking at. Number 1, PlayStation pad. Now, although it's not USB, I do happen to have an adapter which takes it to USB. So I've had a look at this particular one. The bad news is it didn't work. There was just no detection in RetroArch for this particular device. So I have a Ridge Racer, which is a PS1 game. Technically, it can be played fine with a Super Nintendo pad, but I just thought I'd try to play it with a PlayStation pad. But unfortunately, this particular adapter doesn't work. So we had to skip past this. No joy. You'll have seen, if you've looked at my other videos, a Play Sega pad. This is very much like a Sega Saturn pad, except that it has a USB connection somewhere. There it is. That does work. Also, I have a Nintendo pad. Now, this isn't a Nintendo Classic pad. This is, if I can grab the end of it, an original Nintendo pad. So obviously, in order to get this working, we have to put it through a USB adapter, which I do have. And that USB adapter is here. There we go. So that's the adapter that we're going to try. So all of these 3, obviously that's part of that controller setup. This one, and of course the arcade stick, the F300 from Mayflash, they seem to work fine. So what I'm going to do now is, one at a time, I'm going to start a game, go into RetroArch, and just show you that these are all working all at the same time. So in total, you can see we've got 2 ports at the front, 3 ports here. We should have a 5-player game. Now, I haven't got 5 people standing around ready to play, but what I can do is I can go into RetroArch, which I'm going to do now. It doesn't matter what game I start as long as it's running RetroArch. So let's see, what have I recently put on there? I've put a lot of Master System games on recently, but let me go into Ridge Racer. This is the only PlayStation game I've put on there, but there we go. So that controller, the standard Super Nintendo controller, is working there fine with RetroArch, and that's what it defaults to. It defaults to the first controller there. But I'm going to press Start and Select and bring up the RetroArch menu, and from there I'll go down to Settings. Again, this is all using the Super Nintendo controller in Player 1. Into Input. And I've set the max number of users to 5. The reason for doing this is so that we can toggle between all the different controllers and see exactly what's working and what's not. So from there, I'm going to go down to Input User 5, Binds. And now we can have a look here at all different ones that are plugged in. So you're going to get to see in controller 1, it says we've got CloverCon. What it means by CloverCon is it means the dedicated ports on the front of the Super Nintendo Mini. So that's what's there. Or we can have controller 2, which is the second port for CloverCon, which I've got this one plugged into. But then we go to the right again, and we've got NA port 2, 3, and 4. I believe port 1 is taken up by the micro SD, but that's what we've got all disabled. So we're interested in 2, 3, and 4 here on this USB hub, because we want to see what will work and what won't work. So I'll just set it to Clovercon controller 1 for now. I'll take the USB from my May flash and I'm going to put the USB in there. Now that it's in, it should be straight away from what I've been doing recently, but let's have a look. So Clovercon controller 1, I'm going to push to the right for controller 2, to the right again, and now we know that we've got the Mayflash Fight Stick F300. I think it's great that the software all recognizes the device and actually brings up exactly what it is. So this is no problem. We'll work out the box with RetroArch. So while that's plugged in there, let's just go and get one of the other controllers. So we know that this one doesn't work. Unfortunately, you plug it in, just doesn't do anything. We get the lights lit up. We can toggle the analog button on and off, but it just doesn't actually, you know, come up as an input device. The Play Sega one, on the other hand, though, again, great if you've got Sega games you want to have a play with. I'll just put this one in. One of the difficulties in doing a video like this is actually viewing what you're doing at the same time as plugging it in. I'm actually looking at the screen rather than where my hand is. So there we go, that's plugged into there. So now we're looking up. Again, I'm going to use the controller 1 port to change this. So we had May Flash. And there's the Play Sega. So controller 1, controller 2, Play Sega controller, the May Flash, and then we've still got a port 4 there. So far 4 controllers, 2 USB and 2 of the original in the front here. Next up, we're going to take this. Again, this adapter actually, you can run Super Famicom ones in there, NES and Famicom. So, you know, if you really wanted to go all the way, you could. So, just to show you exactly what's going on, there isn't a port to a Nintendo Entertainment System on here. You have to actually plug it in via this little adapter that comes with it. But when you do, obviously that takes it to USB on this end here. Right there. So what we do, we find the end. There it is. We'll plug that into here. Again, one-handed, difficult, but I think we can get away with this. So that's in, and then we'll take this entire setup across to the USB hub. So many cables, eh? It's incredible, but if I can just get hold of the USB end of the setup that we've got. Absolute nightmare. Oh, there it is. Okay. Right, so this is the USB end of that big, long, 3 kind of adapter connection. So this will be a genuine Nintendo pad, Nintendo Entertainment System pad that I'm plugging in to here. That's it. It's in nice and firm. So we follow this one down, all the way down. And we get to this. Then from this cable here, we get to that adapter. That's the original Nintendo end. And we follow it all the way down to my feet, where we find an original 30-year-old Nintendo pad from the NES. So let's have a look if this is actually recognized in there. So I'm just going to go left and right. So we had Clovercon controller 1, Clovercon controller 2. It looks like port 2, 3 and 4 are not recognized for some reason at the moment. So what I will do, I will just press reset on the Super Nintendo Classic. I don't know whether I've overloaded it or something, but can I get back? Clearly we've got the menu music now, but it could be, oh no, something strange has happened. We've gone back to the choose a language menu and game title. Right, I'm guessing that something's happened with the power coming here. Maybe it's overloaded slightly. So I'm gonna just turn it down and power off. Hopefully that'll work. But eventually what we're going to do is we're going to demonstrate all 5 pads working. I did this once very quickly just before I started the video, and I'm kind of really happy that I managed to get all 5 pads working. I know that games like Bomberman, obviously it'd be nice if Nintendo released a multi-tap that you could plug into the front and it was self-contained, and then you could obviously add your extra pads and things like that. That'd be cool. So let's just see how this works. Right, so that's gone to the internal games inside. So there's clearly something wrong on here in terms of how many I've got plugged in. So I'm just going to take out one of them. I'll take out the last one that I plugged in. Again, sorry for the one-handedness. I guess what I could do is if the problem really is down to the power to the USB, I could plug in a powered hub. That might work fine. Okay, that's gone to the internal again. All right, one last try with this. I'll just check that everything's plugged in correctly. There's nothing loose. I've kind of got everything stuck down quite securely with blue tack just to make sure nothing moves. But I'll take out my card. I'll put it back in. That's firmly in place. Firmly in place. Everything's fine. I'll just start again from the beginning. Just leave those there. Okay. So one after another, I'm just going to launch it now. Plug each one in. When RetroArch is up, and just check that all of them work. I will actually leave a link underneath the description to this video once I finished live streaming, just to show you exactly what was happening and what was working and what wasn't working, including the PlayStation pad. Obviously this is booted internally again, so I'd imagine that something's happened there with the USB hub, and it's not very happy at all. Obviously that's the memory card that it has to boot to in order to boot to the USB. If you want to know how to do this video from the start, if you want to set everything up from the start, you want to have a look at Kyland K's channel. That's KYLAND_K, or I think it might be space K, and have a look for his channel, because he's one of the software developers of this modification. And he's got some great tools and links to GitHub that you'll be able to use to actually perform this modification yourself. So I'm just going to try and boot this one more time. Obviously, I've got a customized boot screen on there as well. Nope. So that's obviously caused a problem plugging all those devices in. I'm not sure whether it's corrupted anything on the memory card, but there seems to be an issue there with the connectivity. Well, thanks very much, guys, for watching. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment. Or don't like if you didn't like the video. Merry Christmas to everyone out there watching on Christmas Eve, and hello to everyone who's watching on this stream when it's been recorded for a while and it's up there on YouTube. I'll give you a list, as I say, of everything that worked and didn't work, and I'll try and get this working properly later on. Thanks guys, have a great time.